they divided themselves into four, which are three, and they are Shin the fire, Aleph the air, Mem the water, and Mem the earth. Now these are the mother letters in that they are the light of the mother, and so by these means the man was formed. However, being formed of these things, having they themselves been formed in ignorance and darkness, lacked the light and life, and therefore the dust in the divine pattern, assembled with these qualities, remained dead. 552. The mother breeding all of these is the lower harlot and craftsman, for it is stated of our sages, every craftsman hates his fellow craftsman. 553. And a fool despises wisdom and instruction, and she is in the midst of them, being their center, and she is like the spark above, for she is a whore, and is unlimited in her mindlessness, and she mingled with them all. She is matter, and by her they are nourished. She is called a garment of skin, and this skin was nakedness, for she is the material that garbs everything in reality, and she is the garment of the spirit, and the soul being the man and the woman. Now each of these worked together until limb by limb, the physical and material body was completed. All of these demons and destroying angels gathered and worked together until they fashioned the physical body. However, their creation did not stir or move at all. The mother conceived to herself how she could restore that light which had been diminished, and she conceived to take back the power she had relinquished to the foolish son, and so she prayed to the most concealed of all concealments, the most merciful cause of all causes. With a great mercy, the cause of all causes sent 5 luminaries down to the place of the foolish king, and they advised him that they might recover the mother's power. They said to the foolish king, "Breathe some of your spirit into the face of Adam, and then the body will rise." The breathe here is the neshama, being the light of the mother, and they sought to conceal themselves amidst the man, and so they said to the foolish king, "Behold, when the man becomes a living soul, he will need to be continuously assisted. Let us assist you in this endeavor, that the man may see, smell, hear, taste, and feel." And so he consented, and the 5 lights entered into the man and spread to the 5 parts of his soul. Thus the word soul has a value of 430 and is Elohim x 5, 86 by 5, for these 5 lights had spread themselves throughout that dead soul alongside the power of the mother, which was called breath and neshama, and together the man became a living soul. It was said that he breathed into because the quality of the neshama had gone out of the king and entered into the man. Now the man alongside these 5 qualities caused him to live, and these 5 are Yekida, Chaya, Neshama, Ruach, Nefesh, and they were assisted by the 5 lights that assisted him in seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and feeling. 554. These 5 had another purpose from the concealed of all concealments, and that is to restore what had been diminished. The first of these was called Yekida, because it would allow this man to be attached to the cause of all causes. The second of these was called Chaya, because it would allow this man to become a living soul and draw forth the water from that well of life. The third was the neshama, the gift and power of his mother, which was the power from that foolish king. The fourth was the ruach, and the gift of a chariot to take that man to the cause of all causes. The fifth was a living soul, so that he would be unlike the other things he was in the midst of, and that he would conceive the light of life. Thus it is written, "He breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and he became a living soul. He breathed his spirit into Adam, and that spirit is the power of his mother. But he did not realize this, because he lives in ignorance." The mother's power went out of the foolish king and into the dust body of the man that had been made according to the divine pattern, and who, unbeknownst to them being in ignorance, was the divine pattern of the one who was in the beginning. The body moved and became powerful, and it was enlightened. At once the rest of the powers became jealous. Although Adam had come into being through all of them, they had given their power to this human, Adam was more intelligent than the creators and the first ruler. When they realized that Adam was enlightened and could think more clearly than they, a desire came about to investigate this matter, and so each thing came, and coupled being the beasts and the birds. And even in all of this defilement, which was the grief of his mother, being that the light was gathered to one side as opposed to the darkness, which was to the other side, and this darkness was the secret of the woman, which is Behema, as it has been explained. Nonetheless, the light was in truth completely pure in this instance, as the darkness had been gathered out of the light, and it was divided. As it is written, Elohim divided the light from the darkness. This light was the man's true wife, as it was the light of the mother of all things. And so it is the soul is entombed in the material being the woman who is indeed cursed. 555. And the spirit who is the secret of the man is saved from the material being the light entered here, and by the light he is saved. This light was the light sent forth by the cause of all causes and the will of all wills. It filled a portion of its light with his light, for in truth this light was the light of the mother, and her repentance is his cleansing. Now this light would be garbed in the 365 demons and 248 destroying angels, and a garment of skin and many curses. When they perceived he had been stripped of evil, they took the man and threw the man into the lowest part of the material realm. The blessed, benevolent, merciful cause of all causes had compassion for the mother's power that had been removed from the first ruler. Seeing the man would be overpowered by these rulers, so with its benevolent spirit who knew of these things and great mercy sent to Adam a helper, the enlightened afterthought who is from the cause of all causes and who is called life. She helped the whole creature, laboring with it, restoring it to its fullness, teaching it about the descent of seed, teaching it about the ways of ascent, which is the way of descent. Enlightened afterthought was hidden within Adam so that the rulers might not recognize her, but that afterthought might be able to restore what the mother lacked. Now the man Adam was revealed through the bright shadow within, and they looked up. They saw Adam's ability to think was greater, and they devised a plan with the whole throng of rulers and angels. They took fire, air, water, and earth and combined them with the 4 fiery winds, and he brought them together, and there was a great commotion. The ruler brought Adam into the shadow of death so that they might produce a figure again. From earth, water, air, and fire they conceived in a house of iniquity and gathered 7 evil spirits to bring forth forgetfulness. Adam became a mortal being, the first to descend and the first imprisoned. The enlightened afterthought within Adam, being the Shekinah, however, would rejuvenate Adam's mind. I asked for permission to reveal such things, and it was given for your sake, that you may see your condition, and I was sent to explain these things for this purpose, and we will discuss the garden. Now the rulers, who are the kings of Edom, took Adam and put him into the garden, and they said, Eat, as it is written, of every tree you may eat, but in fact their pleasure is bitter, and their beauty is perverse. Their pleasure is a trap, their trees are sacrilege, their fruit is a deadly poison, their promise is death. They put their tree of life in the middle of paradise. And now we should discuss the particulars of this matter. The roots of this tree is bitterness, its branches are idolatry, its shadow is hatred, a trap is in its leaves, its odor is a stench, and its fruit is death. 556. It blossoms in the darkness as it was conceived in darkness, and it is the remaining life that remained in the mindlessness, and what was, became like a seed in the soil of the mindlessness, and what is like a tree with 7 branches in which demons, fiends, Lilian, Ruakin, Mazakin, destroyers, and evil things lodge themselves within. The dwelling place of those who taste of it is Sheol and outer darkness. Now the rulers lingered in front of what they called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for through it they conceived a separation in themselves. This separation disturbed them, and so they commanded the man not to eat of this tree, for they feared the man would become aware of his light and become aware of his shamefulness and nakedness. However, the benevolent spirit of the cause of all causes perceived this, and so a serpent uncreated appeared in the midst and informed the man to eat, saying, "Eat of it, and you will be as Elohim, knowing good and evil." That is to say, he would be as Elohim indeed, for he would grow the light of the neshama, which was the power of Elohim that had been breathed into the man. He would perceive the good and the evil and see his true condition and be disturbed. They kept the man away by means of every beast and every bird. Now, a fool despises wisdom, and so the foolish king endeavored to take back the light from the man, which was the neshama he had breathed into him. So he brought upon the man a deep sleep. This sleep was ignorance. Thus it is written, "I shall make their minds sluggish, that they may neither understand nor discern." Isaiah 6 verse 10. Now I will reveal a certain matter. This serpent is without creation, and without death or lineage, and is so because it was the benevolent spirit sent forth from the cause of all causes, he concealment of all concealments. Being that the man was the gathering of all light to one side, and he himself being benevolent knew he would be recognized, and so he appeared to the woman who was the darkness of the soul. The serpent said, "What did he say to you? Was it from every tree, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil do not eat?" The woman said, "Not only this, but do not touch, for the day you eat from it you shall surely die." The serpent perceiving she was death could not be afflicted by death, and he informed her by touching the tree. 557. Now it was said behind the veil, she was conceived of complete darkness and complete ignorance. So, when she ate from this tree, she saw that it was good to make one wise, that is to say, light grew within her, and she was not complete darkness. For this reason she was alone, being darkness, and his first wife, this man, being complete light, was separated. She was called Lilith, and it was said he would not couple with her. After eating of this tree, her darkness became as light, as it is written, "Darkness has arisen as light." And so Adam investigated this matter, and ate, seeing his own light might grow. Upon eating, his eyes were opened, and he was able to perceive his condition, and he perceived the darkness, and he saw around him demons and great evil. Shame had filled him, and he covered himself with fig leaves, that is to say, they were altered, and had another form now. The woman less corrupted, and the man less cleansed. The foolish king set forth and said, "Adam, where are you?" For he did not know what happened. Adam said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I hid." The foolish king said, "Why did you hide, unless it because you have eaten from the tree from which alone I have commanded you not to eat? You have eaten." Adam said, "The woman you gave me fruit, and I ate." And the foolish king, being filled with arrogance and jealousy, cursed the woman. The woman said, "The snake led me astray, and I ate." They turned to the snake and cursed it, and from that day the snake has been under the curse of the rulers. I asked for permission to speak of the things that are concealed in those eternal realms. It was said behind the veil of all veils. Why is he called one? And why is the value here 13? Give ear of heaven and give ear, O earth. The one is a sovereign that has nothing over it. It is God and Father of all, the invisible one that is over all, that is incorruptible, that is pure light that no eye can gaze. The one is the invisible spirit. We should not think of it as a god or like a god, for it is greater than a god, because it has nothing over it and no lord above it. It does not exist within anything inferior to it, since everything exists within it alone. It is eternal, since it does not need anything, for it is absolutely complete. It has never lacked anything in order to be completed by it. Rather, it is always complete in light that is not light. 558. The One is illimitable, since there is nothing before it to limit it, unfathomable, since there is nothing before it to fathom it, immeasurable, since there was nothing before it to measure it, invisible, since nothing has seen it, eternal, since it exists eternally, unutterable, since nothing could comprehend it, unnameable, since nothing is before it to give it a name. The One is immeasurable light, pure, holy, immaculate. The One is unutterable and is perfect incorruptibility. Neither is it considered a part of perfection or blessedness or divinity, but something much greater. The One is not finite or infinite, visible or invisible, large or small. It is impossible to say how much is it, what kind is it, for no one can understand it. The One is not among the things that exist, but it is much greater. Not that it is greater, rather as it is in itself, if it is not part of the eternal realms or of time. For whatever is in a realm was prepared by another. Time was not allotted to it, since it receives nothing from anyone. What would be received would be for a time. The One who is first does not need to receive anything from another. So it beholds itself in its light. The One is majestic and immeasurable purity. The One is a realm that gives a realm, life that gives life, a blessed one that blesses, knowledge that gives knowledge, a good one that gives goodness. We know not the ineffable. We would not understand what is immeasurable, were it not for what has come from the Father. This is the One who has revealed these things. And so it is written. Yirat Yeheveh Reshit Dat. Now this Father is the One who beholds himself in the light surrounding him, which is the spring of living water, and provides all the realms. He reflects on his image everywhere, sees it in the spring of the Spirit, and becomes enamored of his luminous water, for his image is in this luminous water. And so the gazes into the Father's thought became a reality, and she who appeared in the presence of the Father in shining light came forth from the filling. She is the first power who preceded everything and came forth from the Father's mind as the forethought of all. Her light shined like the Father's light. She, the perfect power, is the image of the perfect and invisible Shekinah. She, the first power, the glory of Israel, the perfect glory among the realms, the divine pattern of all eternals, the glory of revelation. She glorified and praised the Virgin Spirit, which is the concealed of all concealments, for by this she came forth. She is the first thought, the image of the Spirit. She became the universal womb, for she precedes everything. The Mother Father, the first Adam, the Holy Spirit, the eternal realm among the invisible beings, the first to come forth. The Shekinah asked the invisible Spirit to give her foreknowledge, and the Spirit consented. When the cause of causes consented, foreknowledge appeared before the Shekinah. This is the One who came forth from the power of the Shekinah. Foreknowledge glorified the invisible One and the Shekinah, for because of her foreknowledge came into being. She asked again to be given incorruptibility, and the invisible One consented. 559. When the invisible One consented, incorruptibility appeared and stood by foreknowledge, and incorruptibility glorified the invisible One and the Shekinah, for by means of this it was conceived. The Shekinah asked for eternal life, and the invisible One consented. Immediately the cause of causes brought forth eternal life, and eternal life stood before the Shekinah and praised the invisible One and the Shekinah, for by means of this eternal life was conceived. She asked again to be given truth, and immediately the cause of all causes consented, and truth was brought forth. These five conceived forth by the Shekinah, which are her five parts. The Father, which is forethought, the invisible one, and the cause of causes alongside a certain man constitute 10, and they are within of the first sum, and they are eternal in these aspects. And these are the 5 lights. Now the Father gazed into the Shekinah with the pure light surrounding the invisible spirit and its radiance. The Shekinah conceived from this, and it produces a spark of light similar to the blessed light, but not as great. This was the only child of the mother and father of all that had come forth. Israel, its only offspring, as it is written, Israel my firstborn, the only child of the Father in pure light. The invisible mother of all who is the Shekinah rejoiced over the light that was conceived, that came forth first from the first conception of the invisible Spirit's forethought. The Spirit anointed with goodness of the invisible Spirit. When the child received this, it immediately glorified the Shekinah and the forethought, for by this means it had come forth. The child asked to be given mind, as a companion to work with, and the invisible one consented, and mind appeared, and stood by the anointed as written. A wise son makes a glad father. The son is conceived in the 10th, which is the Shekinah, and he is the 6th of her aspect, and the mind is the Malkuth of her aspect. All of these things came forth into existence in silence. Mind wished to create something by means of the word of the invisible spirit. Its will became a reality and appeared, with mind and light glorifying it. Word followed will. For the anointed self-conceived God created everything by the word. Life eternal, will, mind, foreknowledge, and truth, alongside forethought, glorified the Shekinah and the invisible one, for by these means they came into being. The Holy Spirit brought the self-conceived divine child of itself and the Shekinah to perfection, so that the child might stand before the great, invisible Virgin Spirit set the true self-conceived, for by this he contained within himself the foreknowledge, forethought, mind, will, life, truth, divine dwelling, in that he would be the divine dwelling over, and the invisible spirit by which he would go forth through the cause of causes. The one called by a great name, for the name is known only to those who fear it. Now it was by 13 qualities, and so for your sake I asked, and for your sake permission was given to reveal. They surround and guard the rose, as it is written, like a rose amongst the thorns. And so these are 13 kingdoms, and for your sake I investigated these things, and behold. The first kingdom will say of the Illuminator that he came from the Spirit of the Father and was nourished in the heavens. He received the glory of that one and the power. He came to the bosom of his mother, and in this way came into the water. The second kingdom says of him that he came from a great prophet. And a bird came, took the child, who was born, and brought him onto a high mountain, and he was nourished by the bird of heaven. An angel came. 560. Forth there. He said to him, Rise. God has given you glory. He received glory and strength, and in this way he came into the water. The third kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin's womb. He was cast out of his city, he and his mother. He was brought to a desert place. He was nourished there. He came and received glory and power, and in this way he came into the water. The fourth kingdom says of him that he came from a virgin. Solomon sought her, and Sheol and his armies, which had been sent out. Solomon himself sent his army of demons to seek out the virgin. And they did not find the one in whom they sought, but the virgin in whom was given to them. It was she in whom they fetched. Solomon took her. The virgin became pregnant and gave birth to a child there. She nourished him on the border of a desert. When he was nourished, he was given glory and power from the seed which he conceived, and by this way he came into the water. The fifth kingdom says of him that he came from a drop of heaven. He was thrown into the sea. The abyss received him, gave birth to him, and brought him to heaven. he received glory and power, and by this means he came into the water. The sixth kingdom says that one came down to the realm that is below in order to gather flowers. She became pregnant from the desire of the flowers. She gave birth to him in that place. The angels of the flower garden nourished him. He received power and glory from there, and by this means he entered the water. The seventh kingdom says of him that he is a drop and came from heaven to earth. Dragons brought him down to caves, and he became a child. A spirit came over him and raised him to the place from where the drop had come. He received power and glory, and by these means he came into the water. The eighth kingdom says of him that a cloud came over the earth and enveloped a rock. He came from it. The angels above the cloud nourished him. He received power and glory, and by this means he came into the water. The ninth kingdom says of him that from the 9 muses one separated. She came to a high mountain and spent some time settles there, so that she desired her own body to become androgynous. She fulfilled her desire and became pregnant from her desire. He was born. The angels were over the desire nourished him. And he received glory and power, and in this way entered into the water. 561. The 10th kingdom says of him that the father desired his own daughter. She was pregnant from her father. She cast her child out into the desert. The angel nourished him there, and in this way he came into the water. The 11th kingdom says that God loved a cloud out of desire. He fathered in his hand and cast upon the cloud above him some of the drop, and he was born. He received power and glory, and in this manner he entered the water. The 12th kingdom says of him that he came from 2 luminaries. He was nourished there. He received power and glory, and in this way he came into the water. The 13th kingdom says of him that every birth of their ruler is a word, and this word received a mandate there. He received glory and power, and in this way he came to the water. This water being the water before creation, that the desire of those powers might be satisfied. In truth they are all ignorant, being not in Yira awe. But the generation without a king says that God chose him from all the eternal realms. He caused knowledge of the one of truth, who is undefiled, to reside in him. From an eternal realm he entered, and he made the generations of those people whom he has revealed these things to shine. And everything depends on Yira, yet they do not know. I asked for permission behind the veils, and permission was given that these things for your sake should be known. Now the Son is the Son of the Father, as it is written, "A wise son makes a glad father," being that he was conceived of the Father, and so he was called a wise son. It was explained this Son asked for mind. This mind is the vessel by which this Son would comprehend and understand, for the Father was the light and called secret, in that the word light, 207, has the value secret, 207. Now this Father is the one who is in secret, and it is said of him that is the Father in secret, and he sees that which is in secret, because he is the endless, 207, which has the value of these things. Now life was brought forth because it is written, "Wisdom gives life to its possessor," and alongside these things the Son whom all of these qualities were given, and by whom sits on the throne of his Father, for it is written. 562. The throne of glory exalted from the beginning, and this glory is the glory of the Father, for glory has a value of 32, and our sages have established there are 32 paths of wisdom, being the first and last, which is the and being the first and last letters of the Torah, which value 32. What remains is Rashit, for this was wisdom and is a beginning, as it is written, "The beginning is wisdom." Now this Son gladdens the Father by means of the mind which was conceived to comprehend. The Father being light could not conceive the darkness, however the child having the light and qualities of them all could receive and understand the darkness. So it was through the mind the one sitting on the throne of glory in the eternal realm of the Father perceived the mother who had been exiled. He received her cries and went forth being the enlightened afterthought, for it was by means of the filling the afterthought became enlightened. He perceived in addition another throne below which was in heaven as it is written, heaven is his throne. That is to say the foolish king in heaven. I asked regarding the place of exile and the mother, and for your sake these matters were revealed. She perceived that an abortion had entered her and cried out, that is to say that she was exiled out of the fullness of the eternal realm which is Atziluth, and the filling in which she cried to. She was exiled in Beriah which is, and perceiving from her place of exile the inferior worlds of Yetzirah and Asaya of her aspect, saw and understood from her place that which had emerged within her. It had reassembled itself through 7 days, and so it is written, 7 days under the mother, being that this one who had been born dead now was alive and within the mother again, by which she perceived the abortion being in an inferior order than herself. These 7 are called 7 vanities and abominations, houses of idolatry, for it in this house of 7 pillars he proclaimed, I am a jealous God. The king was called the middle pillar and is known by the letter, and his craftsman, that is to say his wife, is a whore, and she is the lower called the earth, kingdom, and ground, for she is material matter and the garment of these things, and they being reality are her prisoners, for they are imprisoned here under Pharaoh the foolish king. Regarding this it is written, the ground is cursed for your sake, for she being the source of material reality has imprisoned the man, and the woman being the spirit and the soul which is imprisoned in the garment of skin which is matter. Therefore she is called kingdom and earth. Now again for your sake I reveal this, and as of those holy luminaries who have labored in this endeavor have said, woe if I reveal this, and woe if I do not. If I reveal this, then that which is corrupted may become incorruptible. However, if I do not, the friends and all that are with them alongside the world will be robbed of this thing. The neshama, which was the light of the mother, she recovered from her foolish son by means of him breathing the breath of life into the man, was the power to create by means of the mother. And so after the light had entered the man, never again do you see the foolish king create anything for the power to create a thing which is Beriah and the light of the neshama, which allowed the man to understand. For Bina, which is this grade, afforded the man this light had gone out of him, and with it the power to create, and so never again does it say, he created, for it is written, the wicked shall be silent in darkness, and so the power to create went out of him.
2, 1.
To create went out of him. 563. The foolish king in his ignorance recognized the man was different and sought to remove that power of the neshama out of that man, and so he caused a deep sleep to fall upon that man, in that he might endeavor to remove the neshama from the man, but he could not. For the light of the mother that had entered the man contained life, and this life was life eternally. Hence there was no need of the man to eat of their tree of life, as it is written, in the day you eat of it you shall die. This is because the neshama made the man eternal. The king put a deep sleep onto the man and attempted to remove the neshama, but he failed in his labor, for when he grasped at the light within the man, only darkness came out, for he had not the light and could not bring out the light, having surrendered it, which was his birthright, and from this he came to despise it, being himself darkness, for it is written, a fool despises wisdom and instruction. For the neshama dwelled within the tabernacle of the man, and so what he drew out was the darkness of the defilement he had caused, and this in truth caused the man to become cleansed of these things completely. For this reason, the letter is introduced for the first time in the Torah at this place, For it is from the side the power of Samuel was withdrawn from the man being that the foolish king in a fruitless endeavor to withdraw the neshama, which was the light of the mother, and the power to create from the man, but he could not, drawing out only the darkness of death, which was the woman formed by his futile attempts to corrupt it by means of the beasts and birds formed from the ground and brought to him. By this reason Cain would despise and kill Abel, and Esau would despise his birthright, for he is the foolish king, and the mother Rivkah labored with Yaakov, that is the second man, who contained the neshama, who came out second in that he was formed after the first had been created. Now this is because it is written of the one who emerged from the mother, in the image of Elohim, and so we see it was not of the substance but the image. From this point the foolish king no longer creates for the power to create which is the light of the mother, and the neshama is within the man. It was explained in its place that the eating of the tree for the woman was as light, for her being complete darkness gained light from this tree, and her appearance altered, as it is written, darkness arises as light. And her being conceived from darkness was separated for the light, as it is written. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. For he perceived, it is not good for man to be alone. And he separated the man which is the light from the woman which is darkness. For this reason the man was not with the woman when the serpent spoke. 564. This woman is called Lilith, because it is written of the darkness, and darkness he called night. Now having light within her darkness she appeared to the man, him being light, and having noticed light within her, and that the darkness had been altered, desired to conceive for himself that light. This occurred because the neshama within him was the light of understanding, and so he set forth in the endeavor to understand. Now when the man ate from this tree his light diminished, however the neshama remained eternal. Therefore the foolish king said to himself, Behold, I will prepare a place where this life eternal shall be suffering eternal, and for this reason man reincarnates eternally until the passing away of this place. It is written, The earth will pass away like a garment, and similarly, the heaven will pass away like a vapor. Now the enlightened afterthought, being the aspect of the afterthought after it received the filling of the light, went forth from the concealment of all concealments, because it was the wisdom and understanding, and so it was concealed amidst the neshama within the man. It is this aspect that labor with the man through suffering and pain, laboring to restore the light of the mother, and those sparks that become corrected are gathered into the light of the moon, that is to say the realm of the mother, which is called the Garden of Eden. Here they are put away like a time when a woman is in her uncleanliness, which is for a period of 7 days, and these 7 days under the mother must be corrected. The light of the neshama must be restored to its fullness, and then she will return to her eternal place, being in the fullness of her light. Therefore, until this time comes, the sages who complete this task of the mother's Torah are stored away in the light of the moon, which is to say the corrected aspects of the neshama, which is the light of the mother, which restores the moon, which is the mother, and are stored away with her in this place until the time of the fullness comes, and her exile will be over, and this is the Jubilee. For at this time she will measure everything by the omer, which is the Jubilee, and the slave shall be set free. Now that one who labors with man is called a shepherd, because he shepherds the lost sheep, which is the neshama, which is called lost from the mother, and because the creation was formed from ignorance, as the one who formed it was ignorant, they know not the place of this thing, and therefore they know not the great work that has been labored, which is to restore Vav He with Yod He. As it has been established, they know not the place of his glory. For a wise son makes a glad father, and he restores the light to even that son, for it is written and commanded to redeem the firstborn. Laboring in secret the neshama, which was the dust of the earth, as it is written of that one who is like the son Yaakov, who is blessed to be as the dust, for his portion was the birthright, and this is the neshama by which a man may understand, and therefore it is written, you will know, and similarly, to know that Hashem, he is the Elohim, for knowing is what is required for the increase of the light. Now in the latter time Esau will serve Yaakov, and the older will serve the younger, to endeavor the correction for his ignorance will be lifted. 565. And so it begins with, the secret of Hashem is with those who fear him. I again went behind the veil and asked for permission to be granted, and for your sake again permission was granted. Now these 7 days are called evils in that the days are evil, and so the foolish king brought forth 7 androgynous beings which are the 7 kings. Each of these beings are regarding the 7 days of creation, and for this reason it is written of each of them, there was evening and morning, that is to say, each was male and female. Now these as mentioned are the kings of Edom, and they are called kings in that they rule over Canaan. Now these 7 are called 7 runners and 7 eyes. Each being is a day, and each day is male and female. These 7 are before him, and they are called 7 spirits before him. Within the secret of the Father's Son there is also 7 spirits before him. As it is written in Isaiah, the Spirit of the Lord, the Spirit of wisdom, the Spirit of understanding, the Spirit of counsel, the Spirit of power, the Spirit of knowledge, the Spirit of yirah, fear of. I labored to ask about the nature of this foolish son, having been brought forth alongside the heaven and the earth, as it is written, the Elohim who has not created the heaven and the earth shall pass away, emerged alongside 7 qualities within the light of those sparks. And when they emerged, they were united within that foolish king. The light of the neshama intermingling with these things, as it is written, these 6, yes, these 7 are an abomination. Day 1. 1 King. 566. Haughty eyes, and regarding this matter a decree went forth, as it is written, a haughty look, a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked are sin. Proverbs 6 verse 17, for by means of this it is written, he saw that it was not good for the man to be alone. He said in his heart, I am a jealous God, and there is no other God with me. And he laid forth the man to till the ground in error, as it is written, the ground is cursed for your sake. And so of the first day he saw, as it is written, he saw the light, and by means of that pattern formed an androgynous being. As it is written, the light he called day, for this light was that light that first existed, but did not endure. Let there be light, for it existed, and immediately there was light, for upon intermingling with the mindless became no longer light, but light, that is in truth darkness, for it had absorbed. The darkness he called Lila, night. There was evening and morning, male and female, day 1. Day 2, 2 King. A lying tongue, for it is written, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and gossip separates close friends. These friends are the waters, as it is written of the 2nd day. Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. It did not come forth by his command, as the light had not come forth properly by his command, and so he lied and wished to conceal this matter. It is written, and Elohim made the firmament, in that it was not brought forth by his speech, but he made it, concealing from those that were with him this matter. He caused from this firmament a separation of what was united, as it is written, Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Elohim called the firmament heaven. However, this was not heavens but vanity and error, for even in his foolishness he could recognize its evil, and therefore it is not written of this day that it was good, for it was a day of lies, conflict, gossip, and the separation of close friends. It was called day 2. Why was it called 2? This is the value of Satan and emerged from the secret of the fire, for he established these things with hatred, as it is written, I hate, this one is dripped in crimson, as it is written of the tapestries, crimson. It is called Satan, and on this day the fires of Gehenna were lit, for in truth these things are all describing Gehenna and Sheol. This one has the face of an ox, as it is written, they all had the face of an ox to the left side, for this is that one upon whom eats the grass off of the mountains, as the mountains are his domain, being Gevurah, and he eats the grass from this place, as it is written, behold Behema, which I made with thee, he eateth grass like an ox. And in the water. This grass is tossed into the fire of this place, and lost in hatred and envy, for he is the cause of separation, and this domain was appointed for him to consume. He is called heaven because he is formed of certain qualities of the first and second, which is water and fire. Day 3, Third King. Hands that shed innocent blood, for Elohim said, let the water under the firmament be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear. And Elohim called the ground land, however this was not as with this that was formed, but only according to the patterns, and everything that was named was in truth another thing. Elohim called the gathering of the waters seas. 567. He said called the first face seas, of which it is written, who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb. He fashioned it, and it was called the Dead Sea, for it did not contain life, and according to the divine pattern male and female. The earth and the water. Let the earth bring forth grass, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees, each bearing fruit with seed according to its kind. For this is Tifereth, and called a man, as it is written, man is a tree, and this was the assemblage of wars, for each tree was bearing according to its kind, and killed any other kind that came near to it, and so blood would be shed on the earth, because of the power of separation within this king. So it is written, there was evening and morning, day 3, that is to say, male and female, and it was called 3 in that it contained within in it 3 qualities. Each was formed by separation, for each had been brought forth by androgyny. He saw that it was good, that is to say, it was good to separate according to its kind. For it is written, he saw that it was not good for the man to be alone, by means of this king innocent blood will be shed. Day 4, the fourth king. A heart that devises wicked schemes. For this king brought curses into the world, as it is written, let there be lights, however this light is spelled deficiently, as our sages have established, for it brought forth curses. This great light was a great serpent which was placed in the firmament, that is to say the heart, and from here it devises wicked schemes as to how they might curse the man. It rules the day, for it was drawn out by the power of the light which is the day. It emerged by the quality of the light, and through means of that firmament, and by curses and lying speech emerged with the quality of separation. Therefore it is called the fourth day, in that this one emerged by these 4 qualities. That firmament is the second king Satan, which gives him dominion over the evil of the day. For this is the greater light, being that it drew from the greater evils, which are the great serpent. 365 demons were appointed alongside it. 568. Now the lesser light, is to say the lesser of the admixture light of evil, was the female. Given to rule the night, she is called by the name of the power that birthed her aspect, which is the first king called night. She emerged having the quality of that night, that is to say a type of light that shines in darkness. However, lacking the fullness, all who chase her are brought into insanity and slain. When her light is filled, she shines, and the ignorant one goes forth after her light. However, upon the fullness of that light, it immediately diminishes, and the male lays a trap to bring forth wicked schemes. She sends them in cycles through 28 chambers amongst 12 legions appointed alongside her. She moves through 13 higher powers appointed over those 12. They are spread alongside 248 that were formed from the light of the first day, which are 248 destroying angels, as it is written, wrapped in light. That is to say, the light of the first king, and so it says it, rules the night. Its appearance is white and red. This is the servant and maiden. Day 5, the fifth king. Feet that are quick to rush to evil. He created the great Tannin, as it is written, Elohim created the Tannin Gadol, great serpent. Now it is written, let the waters swarm with living creatures, but this living was not of the Father but of the soul, and this was dead, as it is written, became a living soul. Now that one called the waters, which is the third king, brought forth the quality contained within its nephesh, soul. And by means of this formed another, and it was mingled with the mindless, and created legions. And let birds fly from the earth, for that one called earth, which is the same king being the third, brought forth of its male aspect a certain beast, and so it is written regarding these things. There is a serpent on the land, and one in the sea. They being brought forth by that one called land and sea, which is the third king, as with the fourth, which emerged from the first and second king's qualities. Morning and evening, male and female, day 5. Day 6, the sixth king. A false witness who pours out lies. Elohim created the beasts of the ground, which is to say, he had formed these kings which have the face of beasts from the ground, which is the dust of the destroyed worlds. Upon seeing them he said, let us make man after our image, and after our likeness. And so this man was created in this image and likeness of Elohim, for he was a man of Elohim, and conceived for the purpose of completing that foolish king's endeavor. This man was appointed to rule over all of the other angels, answering only to the foolish king. He fashioned him a throne in heaven, as it is written, upon the throne the likeness of a man, for it was the likeness and image indeed. It was appointed to subdue the earth and bring forth great wars. It was conceived androgynous, as it is written, Adam, man in the day I created him male and female. He was formed from the bestowal of a lying tongue and haughty eyes and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wickedness, feet that run to evil, these being the kings who gathered to assemble these things into that man of Beriah, which added their face to his face, and so they all had the face of a man. 569. Now this man is called Adam Belial, and is a false witness appointed by this foolish king to ensure the earth is subdued. His father, the foolish king, is called Abaddon, that is to say, father of Adon lords, for he is the father of these kings, and the father of Adon, who is called Night. Day 7, the seventh king. It is called Shabbath, as it is the seventh, as it written, Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on that day he rested. This is to say that it was a fixed dwelling from all work, that is to say, which is the kingdoms of these kings. He assembled himself as a king who rules 7 kingdoms. When one would come against him, they would flee in 7, for these 7 are 7 eyes that go throughout the whole earth. At this time a disturbance occurred like 70 sounds of labor, and the mother looked within, and perceived the child had labored and now had come to rest. She perceived and cried out, and the fullness received these things, and it was laid forth, an account detailing these things, so that the man, through the Torah, will come to understand. It will at that time be fulfilled. I will take you to the land of your fathers. The first precept is Yireh, and with it one fulfills all 613, for this is the filling of wisdom and understanding, and the removal of ignorance. Now it is time to reveal and break the powers of that evil one. Samuel has a value of 131, and so I have been sent forth, having myself a name of 131, to break the head of that serpent and unlock the keys to 7 heavens by the sound of 7 shofars, and the male will gnash their teeth, and the woman will wail in agony as a woman in labor, and pain for the fullness will nullify those powers, and they will pass away, as ignorance passes away with the light of understanding, and as a dream passes away when one awakes from darkness. 570. This is the interpretation of the king of Babylon's dream, of which the dream of Pharaoh was revealed in a certain other place. Blessed are you. Now gird yourself and prepare for descent, which is ascent. The power of the mother which is to create resides only with man, and so it is here that man alone creates, and alone has understanding. However, the ground is under great curses, which are like the magic of Balaam and Balak. Regarding this it is written, "There is nothing new under the sun, for the foolish king had relinquished the power to understand and create unto the man. Now nothing new is created by that foolish king." 571. 572. 573. 574. Tikunai ha-choshek, tikkun of the darkness, Sepher ha-sod ha-razan ha-Satan, the secret mysteries of the Satan. Samuel has a value of 131. This text has 131 tikkuns, keys, of Samuel. Zohar 9 Bo. 575. 36. Rabbi Shimeon said, "Now it is fitting to reveal secrets above and below. It is written, 'Come to Pharaoh,' but it should have said, 'Go to Pharaoh.' He brought Moses into the innermost chambers, to a very great serpent from which many levels evolve and come down. And what is it? It is the great serpent." 49. Rabbi Shimon said, "The friends are familiar and are occupied with the works of creation, but few know the works of creation as it relates to the great serpent." 50. Come and behold, it is written, "And the earth was without form and void." We learn that it was, which means earlier, when it was formless before the correction began. It has been explained that when the great serpent enters the first river, it becomes full. It swims and extinguishes the sparks that were gathered in from the worlds that were destroyed earlier. 61. When that light was concealed above the gardener, the original darkness, from before the light emerged, came out and hit the head of that serpent on the hole that was made there. A thread was spread between that illumination that remained from this light that was concealed and the dimness of the darkness, as it is written, "Elohim divided the light from the darkness." 53. Becchius, this great serpent, blew wind over the deep and did not vibrate. Then another wind from above blew and struck that wind and placated it. That it is what is written, and so we learned that the Holy One, blessed be He, struck one with another and created the world. Zohar Naso 1:18. I was watching, and behold, I noticed the precious light of the upper candle lightning to 325 directions. A dark one was bathing in that light like someone who bathes in a deep river whose water divides and flows to all directions. 576. 577. תיקן אחת אלים אדם שווה סמל זה ספר תולדת אדם ביום ברא אלים אדם בדמות אלים עשה איתו, בראשית הנקודתיים א'. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim, he made him. Genesis 5 verse 1. זה הספירות אדם זה י"ה ואוה ביום, 6 ספירות דבריה אלים אדם סמל, אדם דבריה בדמות, אלים עשה איתו, nokva dasi sandalfon. Elohim Adam is the gematria Samuel equals 131 equals 1 plus 30 plus 5 plus 10 plus 40 plus 1 plus 4 plus 40 equals 131 equals 60 plus 40 plus 1 plus 30. 578. Tikkun 2 equals plus. And the earth was void, formless, and darkness was over the face of the deep. Genesis 1 verse 2. תהו שווה סנדלפון ועוד סמל עשי דקליפות ובהו שווה יצירה דקליפות, יג תקון דסמל, וחשך שווה בריאה דקליפות לילה כתב, וחשך קרא לילה, על פלי תהום שווה אצילות דקליפות אבדון, על פלי אמות כתיב בזהר לילה קרא אדון כל ארץ זה אבינו אדון. Void. Tohu is the value Sandalphon, and Samuel the temple stood for and fell after 411 years, because of these Samuel and Sandalphon. 60 plus 50 plus 4 plus 30 plus 80 plus 6 plus 50 plus 60 plus 40 plus 1 plus 30 is equal to 411 equals 411 equals 400 plus 5 plus 6. 579. תיקן 3 חגרת שווה לילית ועוד סמל עיני שניהם ותפקחנה הם וידעו כי אילמם ויתפרו תאנה עלה ויעשו חגרת להם. בראשית ג' נקודותיים זין. And the eyes of both were opened and they knew that they were naked. As they sewed together fig leaves and made themselves aprons חגרת עיני שווה שווה עיני כתיב שווה עיני שניהם שווה אדם ועוד חויה כרך השני שווה שטן רזין שין מה שווה י"ה ואו האילמם שווה אול כתב בתורת דלבי מעביר אול כתב אור תאנה שווה תנא דן חשלה שווה על הם ממש דבריך דבריה רזין השווה הדנין חמפץ ויעשו שווה וישוע רזין. Equals plus apron has a value of 611, and this is the same as Samuel and Lilith, as these are the coverings of the man and the woman. Equals 611 equals 30 plus 10 plus 30 plus 10 plus 400 plus 60 plus 40 plus 1 plus 30. 580. Tikkun 4 equals plus. From Shimeon, Shalumiel son of Tsorshadai, Numbers 1:6, equals plus, equals, to the name of the clipet called Shalumiel has a value of Sandalphon and Samuel. Equals 411 equals 300 plus 30 plus 40.